Hi everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon in the sign of Libra taking place on the 16th of October 2020. This horoscope is brought to you by onemillionnights.com. Now, like all new moons, this one without exception represents a powerful new beginning in the area of our lives where 23 degrees of Libra falls into. But chances are that this new beginning is not going to be that very much straightforward, and neither is it going to be very easy. It is not the kind of energy which just simply falls into our lap without any effort, without any sacrifice, or our direct contribution. May that be physical, for example, work, sacrifice, time, effort. May it be psychological, like deep soul searching, shadow work, or simply working on your feelings, your emotions, your frequency, trying to come to terms with the past, hurts, pains, traumas, etc. Or it can also represent that there is a need for a really significant and powerful compromise or to accept the situation in order for you to enable this new beginning for yourself. Because at this time, except this new moon phenomenon, there is so much happening in the sky. It is a very tensioned period where the predominant celestial conversations are those of squares. So that is stress, that is tension, it can be conflict, it can be assertive energies, but we do have a chance to alchemize it into motivation, determination, and standing from a place of self-empowerment. This is where we can make the most healthiest and wisest choices for ourselves. Because, the sign of Libra is all about choice. Even the symbolism of Libra, the scales, her link to the Egyptian goddess Maat, the judge of souls. That is where we have to weigh options, or we have to weigh matters of the heart and cold logic. So there is definitely going to be an element of judgment in the sense of making up our minds and judging a situation, what it means for us personally in this astrological picture. But before I get into the analysis of this upcoming new moon, I have to speak about another energy at play at this time, which is going to be just as influential as this new moon. And that energy actually begins today on the 14th of October 2020, where Mercury, the planet of the mind, the planet of communication, the planet which rules the flow of energies and information, stands still in the sky and prepares to go retrograde tomorrow in the sign of Scorpio. So this Mercury retrograde season begins today, and it's going to last until the 4th of November 2020, when it will once again stand still in the sky, but this time having retrograded back into the sign of Libra, the third decan, and it's gonna go direct the next day. So this Mercury retrograde season is really, really influential and powerful for a number of reasons. Well, first of all, it's taking place in the sign of Scorpio. Now, this is one of the most mystical, this is one of the most secretive, one of the most arcane signs of the zodiac, because it rules a number of different things. As I said in the description, it rules, first of all, secrets. It is the symbolism of our unconscious mind. This is where all of our repressed emotions have their home. But at the same time, this is the sign of powerful transformation, powerful terminations, closures, also healing and regeneration. It is ruled by the planet Pluto, so that says a lot of things, especially this is where powerful alchemy takes place. But Scorpio has also financial and contractual implications because it rules the part of the sky which has to do with resources that we share with others. So that can represent contracts, that can represent job, livelihood, that can represent basically our income before it reaches our pockets. It can represent, values or information, anything that we share with colleagues, with family members. It also rules inheritance. It also rules the paranormal. It also rules the occult. So when Mercury, the planet of the mind, enters this part of the sky, all of us are one way or another inclined to dig the past, to uncover secrets, to understand ourselves, our minds, and the way it functions much more clearly, so that we can reach ultimately self-mastery. Basically, Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, it is like a very powerful detective research energy. Very many scientists, especially for example microbiologists and those who do very, very meticulous research work, can be found in their charts. It is also, the symbol of archaeologists, paleontologists, historians, those who can uncover the past and make sense of it, forensic science, and everything that has to do with uncovering what happened. And basically, how well this fits into the present moment theme, where researchers are trying to uncover the secrets of COVID-19 and try to come up with solution tactics, etc. Another element to this is that the ancient ruling planet of the sign of Scorpio is Mars. And Mars right now, it is in its other home sign of Aries, retrograde. So basically this gives us a sense of urgency that we don't have years or a lot of time to spare to do the detective work, to do the research, or basically to find the answers to our own questions deep within our own minds and unconscious. We have very short, very little time left to do this. So basically this is like whipping us to act very, very quickly and embody our rationality, our intelligence, our cold logic, and our own personal detective skills. Now another element which gives it a very strong sense of urgency is that Mercury at this time and a lot of days to follow during its retrograde phase is going to be opposing Uranus. Uranus is the planet of the superior intelligence. It is basically our highest cerebral activities. It is our superconscious, so to speak. So this is when the rational mind, basically the consciousness, meets the superconscious. And Uranus is also speaking from the earth sign of Taurus, so it affects our value systems, it affects our inner structures, our beliefs, everything that we have built up over the years internally to give ourselves stability and groundedness, psychologically, regarding self-worth, but also perfectly down to earth things like job, career, financial stability, etc. And whenever a planet opposes Uranus, well, it is time for surprises, it is time for shocks, it is time for unexpected twists and turns of events. And at the same time, Uranus, symbolically, it always acts like the cold, hard, unforgiving blade of justice descending. So it is always associated with uncovering secrets, the truth, the objective truth, as objective as it is possible in our human world, being revealed. And at the same time, since both of these planets, as in Uranus and Mercury, are retrograde, it can represent really strong, powerful inner epiphanies, moments of sudden realizations. Our conscious mind and unconscious mind just collaborate and reveal to us so very many things that we need to know about ourselves. May this happen in a very down-to-earth way, for example, out of nowhere, in a dream or in a moment when we are simply just daydreaming, something really powerful enters in our awareness. For example, a solution to a big trauma that is holding us back, how we can overcome a obstacle which seemed to be impossible to overcome, what someone in our lives who we trust and love truly thinks about us, etc. So there's so very many ways that this Uranian epiphany can basically enter into our awareness. So for the individual, this represents like a really powerful psychological subconscious purging. But of course, even though it can be a little bit uncomfortable, it can be anxious, it can lead to sleepless nights, it can lead to agitation basically without knowing why, it is for our greatest good, because whatever we're going to find out during this Mercury retrograde period, well, it will help us in our long-term future to achieve self-mastery and stability, to master and control our emotions, our thoughts, and not allow anything internal to keep on defeating us, for example. It is also a really, really good energy to resurrect project, duties, obligations, everything that you wish to accomplish, goals left behind in the past, even studies, even, an ambition of yours, wanting to do a course, having to achieve a qualification, anything like that. It is a really, really good energy to terminate, complete, achieve things left behind from the past. And like every Mercury retrograde season, every word which begins with redo, rethink, rearrange is highly encouraged. Now also, Mercury is an energy which has to do with contracts and agreements and circulation of information. So it is not a very favorable period to initiate new things. Whenever you need to sign a contract, especially something that is meant for long term, you should really, really wait until this Mercury retrograde season ends. Or if that is not possible, really bring your rational mind to it and think things through profoundly before signing or agreeing to anything. Now also when Mercury opposes Uranus, that means software problems, bugs, errors, electronic devices malfunction for no logical reason, small misfortunes. I mean, nothing life-threatening, but a lot of minor inconveniences, because the flow of energies, especially electricity and especially AI, is going to go haywire. So be prepared for that, and it can also affect travels and plans. For example, election day in the US. Now, it is almost written in the stars that something is gonna go wrong. Either it's gonna be delayed, or, it's gonna shock us and surprise all of us. So, this is how we have to prepare for this Mercury retrograde period. Expect the unexpected. Be sure to have a very versatile and adaptable way of being, so that when a surprise comes up, you are ready for it. And of course, chances are some of the surprises can be very pleasant, unexpected opportunities which appear in a flash of an eye, and you just have to grab them, seize them there and then. So it's not really doom and gloom. Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio also represents that there is a high chance for us to meet people from the very distant past. For example, childhood friends, classmates, colleagues, people who we haven't heard of for ages. So this energy is always reuniting people, and many of those reunions are really, really positive and joyful. So when you are thinking about meeting someone from the distant past, someone who you might miss, someone who you might have nostalgic moments about, well, this is a really, really good period. Now, on the world stage, I would not like to focus on this one because it's very clear. Revelations, exposure of secrets, unexpected twists and turns of events, communication, things about the coronavirus situation, authorities mixing up figures, facts, numbers, etc. So it's going to be confusing. truth and half-truth, illusions, deception, manipulations is going to be mixed in one place. But because we have that very strong Uranus, chances are we are definitely going to process this information, so we are not very easy victims of any kind of deception and manipulation. Now, Mercury in the sign of Scorpio can also empower thieves and, people who make a very dishonest living. So be very, very careful of phishing scams and, deception and manipulation, online thieves, for example. And also individually, it doesn't really matter where in our lives this energy falls into, which area of life. It is definitely going to make us rethink all of our relationships. The sign of Scorpio, may they be contractual, like colleagues, our relation to a company, our relation to an organization, friends, very, very close friends who we share stuff with, our partners, within a marriage, within a family, because you share a lot of resources and you share basically your life with that person. Of course, none of this has to be negative. It is just rethinking, reformatting. It can also represent a very strong new routine, new beginning, new way of doing things. Basically, it can represent like a reviving of the relationship, spicing it up. Because Scorpio is also a highly sexual energy. For some people, it can also mean rethinking their sexuality, for example. Or when you share a house, an accommodation with someone, you might rethink everything, where maybe you would like to go solo, or maybe you find out that how much you appreciate that you have people around you, because there's so many benefits to it. Psychological benefits, material benefits. So, it doesn't have to be anything negative, because you can reach the conclusion of how much you truly appreciate the way your life is in the present moment. And that can also be a game changer, because you will become that much more loving, that much more compassionate. You will value what you have that much more, and that is absolutely fantastic. But of course, since this Mercury retrograde season is going to last for some time, I'm going to be speaking more about this as we head on and progress towards the 4th of November. Now let's speak about the star of this astrological show, which is this new moon taking place in the sign of Libra at approximately 23 degrees of the sign. Now, as I said earlier in the recording, this is going to be a rather tensionate new moon, because there is a T-square between this new moon, the Capricorn planet, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. And of course, it is opposing Mars. So that means a lot of tension. This is the energy of forced change, which basically targets our relationship. Naturally, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It doesn't have to be violent. It will just make us think, and ultimately, it can be like a reality check. Do we want to continue a relationship of any nature the way it used to be? Or do we want to change it? Do we need to change it? Is it fair? Is it equal? Is it mutually beneficial? Or are we victims? Or are we basically squandering our powers? Because this new moon, the conjunction of the sun and moon, speaks in tension with Pluto. And Pluto is all about power. Power that we have over other people, and power other people, or for example an institution, has over us. This energy can also be a little bit tough for the ego, for our sense of self, for our identity, because on one hand, the sun is in fall, so it's not that very powerful in the sign of Libra. That's why it's a very good diplomatic energy, because you can actually think about the interests of other people without, being self-centered, being very egoistic. And, it opposes Mars, our willpower, our inner drive, our survival instincts. So that means that during this time, it's not our way or the highway. It is not me, 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 me. We really have to think about everyone and everything in our lives, not just ourselves. But of course, there are so very many people who don't have a very strong ego, who actually have a Mars deficit in their chart, so to speak. For example, a debilitated Mars, Mars in the IC, Mars in Cancer, or Mars forming some very, very hard aspects where its intensity is taking away. Well, for those people, it has to be the exact opposite, where they truly have to man up and speak their minds and stand up for themselves, like it or not. So this is why it can be that very much tensionate. But as I said, this is not really a conflict. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be that assertive. It is more like a conflict of interest. It has to serve the greater good. It has to, represent equality and balance and justice. Everything that has to do with the sign of Libra. So this new moon, yes, it definitely represents a powerful new beginning in that area of our lives where 23 degrees of Libra falls into. But this new beginning can take place over the next 6 months of our lives. So it doesn't really have to be instant. Although when Pluto is involved in any picture, that can also represent the hand of fate. So that can mean fated terminations like a divorce, an end of relationship. As I said, it doesn't have to be conflictual or violent. It can be just waking up to the reality that you guys are not compatible, and continuing the relationship wouldn't serve anyone's greater good. But there is an unexpected element to this. Maybe it can represent going back to an old relationship, maybe in the more distant past, where you suddenly realize how truly happy you were and how happy that person has made you feel. And it can represent, the hand of fate playing out in that manner. Now, for those individuals who are single and looking and, feeling a little bit sad and disappointed that they have done all this work, especially inner work, to be balanced, to be positive, to be forgiving, to be basically a kind and gentle human being, because we know that is what attracts a loving relationship into our lives. Well, if nothing has worked until this present moment because of that Pluto, that inner tension, that disappointment, why am I still single, can actually turn the tides at this time, because fate can actually connect you in a very unexpected way with someone who is actually destined for you. And it's not just the new moon supporting this energy, but at the same time, Venus forms a trine, a supremely harmonious celestial conversation, a blessing with Jupiter. And this is really, really, really good news, because the ancients regarded Jupiter as the great planet of blessings, the big benefic, and Venus is the minor planet, bestower of blessings. So when these two meet harmoniously in the sky, it is a very lucky, beneficial energy, and Venus is the planet of love after all. So it can also turn into a fated relationship entering your life at this time. But it doesn't have to be all about romance, because Venus is in the sign of Virgo, where she cannot bring forward her most romantic and dreamy qualities, but she's very, very practical. So financially, for any problem that needs to be solved urgently in your life, this can be equally as good. It can be a big blessing. Maybe someone unexpected offers you a job, a solution. You meet a highly skilled professional who is more than willing to lend you a hand, help you out, or, lend its expertise to your situation. It can be a really, really good energy for collaborations, for alliances to be formed in order to solve a problem. And naturally, on the world stage, this can also represent some really, really good news, Because on one hand, Mercury in the sign of Scorpio is, as I said earlier, like a medical science research energy. The sign of Virgo rules the physical body and everything that has to do with life in a physical sense. So Venus being there, that is already an element of luck, that is already a blessing. And this new moon in Libra can represent international collaborations. It can represent the forming of new alliances. It can represent, the reconfiguration of international diplomatic relationship, new treaties, new organizations being born, meant to, help the world with any kind of problem that they're facing. Now, this energy, unfortunately, has also a darker side to it. Well, because, as I said, the sign of Scorpio can represent powerful transformation, mutation, rearrangement of anything. And Uranus at this time opposes Mercury. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, which represent the crust of the earth. Uranus is a really powerful magnetic force. So this can represent natural calamities, unexpected, wild, unexplainable even, weather phenomenon and manifestations, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, the pandemic one way or another getting out of hand, or at least the illusion that it's getting out of hand. Because, during this time, Venus in Virgo, as I said, Virgo, the physical body, opposes Neptune, the planet of illusions. So all of this can even be an illusion that it's getting out of hand, but its effects are the same nonetheless. Mars is squaring Pluto, its higher octave, at this time as well. So that can also play out as explosions or accidents or something which has to do with any kind of catastrophe. And another expression, unfavorable, unfortunately, expression of this energy, well, Uranus in Taurus is value systems, and Mercury in Scorpio is basically the circulation, the flow of money, transaction, etc. So it can mean economic instability and the crash of the markets in a very unexpected way. But of course, this is where for the individual, it can actually be the total opposite, where either you have an ingenious idea or you seize an unexpected opportunity and you hit the jackpot. Because Uranus is chaos and you cannot anticipate, you cannot know how chaos is going to be playing out. It can mean destruction, yes, but it can also mean a wonderful, unexpected gain, which basically might make absolutely no sense in the present conditions. So in conclusion, yes, there is a lot of tension, confusion, and a very profound psychological purge in the sky. And it will challenge relationships of any nature, but, as I said, it doesn't have to be violent. It can simply be rethinking and, maybe a change of heart, a change of feelings. And chances are that this is a wonderful opportunity to transform our lives into what we desire, into how it feels healthy, comfortable, and beneficial to all of us. And naturally, the sign of Libra has much to do with equality, justice, mutuality. So, whenever we transform a relationship, may it be purely personally and individually, or everything that is playing out on the world stage, this transformation, even if it's uncomfortable, it is meant to provide us with the greatest good, with the highest expression of what earthly justice and equality can possibly represent. And naturally, all of this is leading towards 21st of December 2020, where the Great Conjunction is going to take place. Saturn meets Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aquarius, so the new paradigm is beginning, and that new paradigm Aquarius is all about equality. It is all about humanitarianism. So we have to do this work, first of all, internally, so that in 2021 we can actually exteriorize this and upgrade our society, our interhuman relationship, our communities, and ultimately our justice systems. And also because of this very, very active Pluto and this square with Mars, this is a very powerful unconscious energy where you have this opportunity to rewrite or insert new commands in your unconscious mind, put in new patterns which can change your life. It can change your perceptions about reality. So it is a wonderful opportunity to use this alchemical magic or parapsychological knowledge to basically transform our lives and ourselves. And by doing this, naturally, we transform the whole world and the whole human community. And we also receive divine help. The lower benefic speaks in perfect harmony with the higher benefic, so Jupiter and Venus. That is always hope, that is always faith rewarded. And since they speak from earth signs, it can mean actual material, down to earth, real life help or blessings or even miracles. Yes, both of these planets are debilitated. They're not that very powerful. Venus is in Virgo and Jupiter is in Capricorn, where they're not, the sci-fi kind of miracle energy. But whatever we believe in deeply and intensely, whatever we love from the very core of our beings, well, that can be enough to produce a miracle in our lives. We can attract blessings, goodwill, good fortune. So the sky actually supports us and helps us to transform our lives and our relationships so that all of it can serve our greatest good. It can be about equality and justice. And when we have equality and justice in our lives, we, without even having to try so very hard, we become more pleasant, more peaceful, more loving human beings. And ultimately we can embody compassion, solidarity, and mercy that much more. And this is the big astrological picture. So yes, this energy is a little bit depressing. It can be very unusual, weird. Sometimes it won't make any sense. Sometimes it can be, like a powerful psychological purge where you just have to cry it out. But it's really, really not bad news, because this is how we truly build stable foundations of equality and justice for our long-term futures. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you'd like this recording, please like and share. And remember, if you'd like a personal reading, just log on to onemillionnights.com, where we have a special promotion. If you buy any of our prepaid packages, you get 10% bonus credit. Thank you once again. Wish everyone a blessed and magical new moon. Until next time, bye for now.